Okay, it says right here, factual background. Plaintiff and the Minnesota Department of Education is suing Aimee Bock, this woman, is the state entity responsible. Again, they're responsible for administering federal nutrition programs in Minnesota. That first sentence makes them liable for allowing this to happen. The Minnesota Department of Education is the state entity responsible for administering federal nutrition programs in Minnesota. The federal funding comes from and is governed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That's our farmers, the ones who cause global warming. Go drive by a farm field. You can see all the gases coming off the manure and methane they put on there. The USDA. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the USDA modified requirements and oversight and increased available funding to allow for greater flexibility in providing fraud. That's basically it. And then it says nutrition to those in need. Defendant Feeding Our Future, led by defendant Aimee Bock, partnered with Minnesota Department of Education to implement the federal nutrition programs in Minnesota. Feeding Our Future sponsored more than 200 meal distribution sites that quickly claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children, as well as opening its own program sites. Under MDE's program regulations, Feeding Our Future was required to adequately monitor accuracy of reimbursement requests and compliance at its partner sites. Despite this requirement, it is now understood that Feeding Our Future was not in fact feeding children, but rather its partner sites were pocketing the money. Okay, so again, Aimee Bock wasn't actually, she was like the money, the middleman. She was funneling all this money to people she thought they presented themselves as people who would provide meals to children. Okay. And again, obviously none of them did. And these are, I think the 80 other defendants, they're all from, the Brotherhood. Okay. They were just pocketing all this money. And again, Aimee Bock, I think she did very well herself. But again, I don't think she claimed to be feeding as many children as these satellite sites were doing, okay, which she partnered with. And again, do I think she should be held accountable for this? Obviously. But the two entities that should be held accountable the most are the Minnesota Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They're the cause of all this fraud. They did not have any checks and balances. They did not have any oversight. They did not do their job. Like right away, when people are requesting all this money, I don't care if it's COVID or not, you need people auditing these businesses. All it takes is sending somebody to these sites, one person. You could do it in one day to take down, 25 sites. And yep, they're actually feeding children, okay? And then you approve them. You have to make sure they're feeding people first before you give them, millions of dollars. So again, Minnesota Department of Education, they're a very dirty agency in my opinion in the state of Minnesota. They're one of the last few entities that get pensions, okay? They get treated very well financially, okay? So whatever department inside the Department of Education that was approving all these grants and loans and requests, they should also be held criminally liable. Criminally.